now I want to get into the recent motions that were filed here. Let's see. Yep, these are them. This is the first one. This was filed June 9th by the prosecutor. The defense had made a motion back in June to dismiss the charges against Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. This is the defense, not for Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin, by the way, the manslaughter charge was dropped by prosecutors in April of this year. We'll come back to that in a moment. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, of course, is still going to trial on an involuntary manslaughter charge. And as you lead up to trial, your defense attorneys are filing all kinds of motions to try to make the charges go away or put you in a more favorable position for trial. And they had filed a motion to have charges dismissed against Hannah Gutierrez-Reed for a whole bunch of reasons. That she was being preferentially prosecuted, that the prosecutors had engaged in various forms of misconduct, blah, 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 blah. We're not going to go over most of those. But we will cover one of the issues is the subsequent intervening conduct of Alec Baldwin and the fact that the charges had been dropped against him. So if you're going to drop the charges against the guy who fired the actual shot that killed, how can you maintain the same charge, involuntary manslaughter, against someone who has a much more tentative legal liability here? Like Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the armorer, never pointed a gun at anybody, certainly not at Helena Hutchins. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed didn't press the trigger on that gun, didn't fire that round. That's Alec Baldwin. Nobody has more proximate criminal liability here than Alec Baldwin, the guy who fired the shot that killed Helena Hutchins. So if you're going to drop the criminal charges against him, how can you not drop the criminal charges against Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the armorer? That was an argument made by the defense. And this is a response to that argument by the state. So we're going to take a look at that in a moment. Before we jump into all that, let me take a quick look at the Law Self-Defense chat to see what else we have to cover. Oh, yeah, by the way, so I see here in a comment, Paul notes that Law Self-Defense member Paul notes that Alec Baldwin is anti-gun. Another reason he can't possibly argue that he did not know he was engaged in inherently dangerous conduct when he pointed what he knew to be a real gun at Helena Hutchins without ensuring it was unloaded is that Alec Baldwin's actually on the board of a gun control organization whose reason for existence is that guns are inherently dangerous. All right, let's see where we are in the chat. Law Self-Defense member Tony says, comment, there's no way the armorer is more culpable than the shooter. I concur exactly. I concur 100%. Law Self-Defense member Zach says, when it comes to guns, complacency can literally be a killer. There are countless stories of cops for 20 years in the force shooting themselves in the hand or firing the gun in their home when cleaning it. Yes, that's why guns are inherently dangerous instruments. Let's see. Law Self-Defense member Paul says there's a video of a cop in a school classroom explaining gun safety and shooting himself through the foot. Yeah, I've seen that. That's the ATF agent. I wish I'd thought to pull that up. Law Self-Defense member Chuck says, are you going to look into the Quenisha Johnson case? The defense closing argument is today. She's claiming self-defense. I haven't taken a look at it yet, Chuck, but he helpfully provides a link. So the trouble with listening to the closing argument is I didn't watch any of the trial. So it would be difficult for me to evaluate the credibility of the closing argument. Most claims of self-defense are nonsense. Law Self-Defense member Zach said, Baldwin spent how long telling the cops how educated he is about guns? Yeah. So he really should have kept his mouth shut, like any of us should. Never talk to detectives without a lawyer present, and probably not even then. Let your lawyer do the talking. But I'm sure what Alec Baldwin was thinking, what so many potential defendants think when they're talking with the police, is that it's like the old TV show Columbo. I don't know if how many of you are of an age to know the TV show Columbo? Columbo was this bumbling detective TV series. Well, he presented as bumbling. He was, in fact, very smart. But because he presented as bumbling, the bad actors in every one of these TV shows that had killed someone, they were convinced they were way smarter than him, and they could talk their way out of being identified as the killer. And over the 40 minutes of the TV show, this bumbling detective, Columbo, would entrap them in their own words. They weren't smarter. They just thought they were smarter. And that's what Alec Baldwin was doing here. He's a big Hollywood star. He's a multimillionaire. And he's talking to what? Some hick town detectives? Surely he can talk them out of thinking that he has any criminal responsibility here. And all he did was dig a hole for himself. I guarantee you, if Alec Baldwin had not spoken to the police in a substantive way, retained legal counsel, that legal counsel would have said, you know, all we really have to do is have you say you didn't even know it was a real gun. Now, of course, that would be a lie. But, you know, up to the state. The state has the burden of proof, not the defense.